We'll pay up or we'll take it ourselves. More than 5 million Americans whose student loans are in default are now less than 2 weeks from having their loans sent to debt collectors. That word coming from the Department of Education, which the Trump administration is actually trying to dismantle. Payments were first paused by President Trump in 2020 because of the pandemic. Then President Biden extended the pause multiple times, but Trump is now saying no more. Alex Brachet is tracking this for us. So, Alex, is the government really going to go after paychecks?
Well, Kira, it appears that they're prepared to do so, and the implications here are sweeping. As you mentioned, there are some 5 million American borrowers who have defaulted on student loan payments and could have those loans sent to collections as soon as May 5th, according to this memo from the Department of Education. And also, as you mentioned, I mean, this is the first time that the federal government is essentially going after these borrowers since the COVID pause went into effect. Now, I want to kind of lay out that this means that, you know, for default to default on a loan, I mean, these are people that haven't paid for roughly about 9 months. But look, I mean, it's kind of sweeping here in terms of you know, how the Treasury Department will be looking at mechanisms to get some of that money back. They're talking about first looking at things like tax refunds and other maybe federal incomes, but then after a 30-day period, they will potentially garnish wages.
So all of this happening as the administration is dismantling the Department of Education. So who's even overseeing these student loans?
Yeah, so that role has fallen to the Small Business Administration. But Kira, I mean, there's a lot of confusion as to how this is going to be processed. We talked to a lot of borrowers who say that, you know, they've gotten cryptic notices from the Department of Ed or have gotten deferment notices that they didn't ask for. And there's also a community of borrowers that have enrolled in loan forgiveness programs that say that, you know, they're having a hard time figuring out how to go about that process. The Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program is one of them, where folks, you know, enter public service programs, and after a period of 10 years of constant repayment, those loans are forgiven. There is a lot of confusion as to how the system is going to look and how it's supposed to function when changes.
We'll track it. Alex, thank you.
All right, let's get into it for them. It's a lot of people that's finna be defaulted on their loans.
Or we'll take it
There's a lot of people out here that cannot afford to pay these loans back. Unfortunately, a lot of people went to school, took these loans out, and got a lot of, I heard some people got like a degree in African American studies. I seen one person had a degree, they say, in basket weaving. I don't know how true that is, but unfortunately, man, with people can't pay these loans back because they're not in a job to pay or making a certain amount of income to pay this stuff back. Could this be the collapse? Could the collapse of America or society be on the rise? Because if you start taking tax returns like they say they're going to do, which people tend to depend on their tax returns, you take those, people going to be behind the 8 ball all year long. And then you trying to force people to repay or whatever. But the biggest thing is if you garnish their wages, and I don't know what the garnishment gonna be, but if it's at least 25% of a person's paycheck, that's a fourth of a person's paycheck. If you're already paying a mortgage or high rent, because that's what society is, man. With this society, it's the rent is super high right now. Mortgage is high, car payment is high. You got kids, you got groceries, don't let nothing catastrophic happen, car breakdown, something happen to your car, something medically happen with your family. People just don't have it right now. And so if they get to the point where you ignore them, let's just say you ignore them and they have to garnish your paychecks. Now people is going to start losing cars, losing homes. People gonna get fed up. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they say people gonna get desperate, and desperate people do desperate things in desperate times. you're going to find people start breaking in people's houses. You're going to start seeing people hurt people. You're going to start seeing people rob and kill and do all kind of stuff, man. Because if you already under pressure, which we are, society, everybody's under pressure right now. Everybody's under scrutiny. Everybody's job is online. There've been mass layoffs, and I'm not giving you an excuse not to pay what you owe, because I believe if you sign that dotted line, whether I'm hearing people say, "Well, I was 18, I didn't know what I was signing." Unfortunately, you knew it was a loan, and loans have to be paid back, unfortunately. And I hate to put people in that situation, especially right now when everybody's back is against the wall, but it has to be paid back. Now, there are some forgiveness programs out there, and you can qualify. Man, hats off to you. But what this administration is doing, they're coming, you know what I mean? And the bubble has been growing large and overly expensive, and we just keep adding on to the debt. So it is time to cut the fat. I do agree with having people to repay their loans. Let me say that. I don't agree with possibly garnishing the person's check. I don't agree with that, because you don't know what type of situation they're going to throw a person into. However, like I spoke earlier, if you garnish somebody's check 25, 30%, they're already behind the eight ball and paying mortgages or rent or bills or got gas in their car. When they get behind and they can't get caught up, and they start losing their homes or losing their cars, or they can't afford the basic necessity like food, what do you think these people are going to do? People going to probably start quitting jobs, because at that point, if I can't afford to live, why work? This can be catastrophic. Now, I do understand, like I say, loans have to be paid back. I do understand people paying what they owe. I understand that. But it got to be a better way to do this thing here. Now, what is frustrating is when I see people on social media platforms, they put their whole face out there and everything, saying, "Well, I ain't paying nothing back. I ain't got it. You can come get it." But let me tell you something. The federal government will come get it. These student loans is like back taxes with the IRS. These student loans are like child support. They ain't going nowhere. What's going on with your loan is they constantly accruing interest on top of interest on top of interest. So where you might have owed $25,000 or $30,000 at one point, now this thing is $70,000. Now, I don't agree with the amount of interest a lot of people's student loans is accruing. Like one person said she borrowed $50,000, and now she, during the pandemic, and she wasn't paying. Now that thing saying she owed like $83,000. I don't understand how, or I don't agree with that type of interest growing on a federal backed loan. I know they got rid of the DOE, and now it's under the SBA. And now they're talking about, also I'm seeing people complaining and saying, "Hey, my credit score just dropped 140 points. Somebody said their credit score just dropped 170 points. They was in the process of buying a home. And in the process of buying a home, they, I guess the DOE or SBA or whoever with the student loans report, or NailNet or whoever your student loans is through, reported that they hadn't been paying their student loans, I guess, over 90 days. And when that hit their credit report, that dropped their credit down to like 170 some points, which knocked them out of qualifying for a house. And that hurt them. They hurt their chances. So in that particular case, I felt bad for the young lady. But at the same time, you have to make sure when you're going in these type situations, your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. So I hope people find a way to pay their student loans, but they need to get rid of some of that interest or all of that interest. You talking about the amount of money that we give to other countries on a low interest loan or just giving it away. We need to treat our citizens the same way. So if these student loans, if May 5th come and they start taking income tax and garnishing checks and another thing, that will hurt you on your job. If you get a garnishment on your job, they're going to hurt, man. They're going to hurt any promotions. They're going to hurt you going forward with that company. So I hope there's a better way that we can do this. And to everybody out there struggling, man, I just tell you, keep your head up. We all feel you. We all under pressure right now. And you just got to keep pushing and find a way, man. Find a way. Go talk to these people. See if there's a way that you can take a lower payment or because I see some student loans, they're talking about 12, 13, 1400. One lady said if she had to pay her loans back right now, she'd be paying like $3,700 a month, man. Nobody can, even if you got a 6-figure job, if you're making $100,000, man, paying $3,700 on top of a mortgage and cars and family, nobody can afford that. So with that said, man, I'm Abrew Yashar'el, man, find a way, let's push forward. And hopefully this is not the end, the beginning to the end, because it can be very bad and very scary out here with these student loans coming due. With that said, I'm Abrew Yashar'el. Until next time, people, shalom.